6. Bus Ted. Amal strode right up to the bus's door and knocked 3 times on the shiny silver. Nothing happened. She knocked again, louder this time, and behind the black tint of the window she saw movement. A moment later, a gruff-looking face peered through. "Who are you?" the figure snapped. His voice was muffled by the closed door. "Can you open the door?" Amal shouted. "We can't hear you." "What?" the man shouted back. "Open the door!" the kids shouted together. The gruff face disappeared from the window. "I guess he's not going to open the door," Clementine muttered. She put her face up to the window and tried to peer inside, but a moment later there was a thud and a hiss. Clementine jumped back and the door opened. It reminded Amal of the spaceship door from a science fiction movie, except that there was no alien behind this door, just a very annoyed bus driver. "Well," the man snapped, "what do you want?" Said Clementine. She shuffled backward and ducked behind her friends. Nothing. "Actually," said Wilson, "we want to look for something on your bus." The bus driver sneered and scratched at the stubble on his chin. "Look for what?" "A spacesuit," Raining said. "A what?" the driver said. Amal elbowed Raining and laughed. "He's kidding. Actually, my grandmother's on the tour, and she left her pills on the bus. I need to get them for her before she starts feeling sick." "Your grandmother's on the tour?" the bus driver said, sounding doubtful. Amal nodded. "But you're not," he said. He raised an eyebrow. "Right," said Amal, nodding again. "You live in Capital City," the driver said. "Yep," Amal said. The driver reached into his pocket and pulled out a toothpick. He bared his teeth and picked at the narrow gap between his front bottom teeth. "There's a woman on the tour who could be your grandmother, I suppose," he said after a moment. "She's in seat 8A. He stepped back onto the bus and sat in the driver's seat, and there he grabbed a magazine from the huge dashboard and flipped it open. "Help yourself." Amal quickly climbed aboard. "Thank you." The others started to follow her, but the driver coughed and said, Not so fast. Just the girl with the sick grandma. You 3 wait outside." Wide-eyed, Amal looked back at the others, but they only shrugged up at her. She'd have to do this on her own. The door closed behind her. The bus was long and dark. It smelled musty, like old socks and wet paper bags, but also like chemical cleansers and motor oil. Amal walked toward the back, counting as she went, until she got to row 8. Then she knelt down on the carpet floor and looked under the seat. Nothing, not even a bag lunch or a purse or a dropped nickel. Next, she stood on the edge of the seat to reach the overhead luggage compartments, but that was empty too. No spacesuit, no helmet. "She could have put it anywhere," Amal whispered to herself. "I have to check the other seats too." She started walking deeper into the bus, scanning the seats and under the seats as she went. "Hey!" the bus driver suddenly shouted. Amal spun and saw him watching her in the rearview mirror. "I said seat 8A. Where are you going?" "Oh," Amal said, forcing a smile. "I couldn't find the pills. I thought maybe the bottle rolled to the back." The driver seemed to growl like an impatient pit bull. "Fine," he said. "You got 60 seconds. "Why?" Amal asked. "Are you leaving?" "I'm not going anywhere until the tour leaves town at 8 tonight," the driver replied shortly. "I just want you off my bus." Amal quickly knelt down and crawled the rest of the way to the back. She wanted to climb up on the seats and check every overhead compartment too, but the driver wouldn't have let her. Besides, she didn't have much time. By the time Amal reached the very back of the bus and climbed to her feet, her time was up. The driver stood up and opened the door. "Okay, kid," he said. He pulled the toothpick from his mouth and used it to point out the door. "Time's up. Out you go." "But I haven't found the pills yet," Amal protested. "Sorry," the driver said, "and sorry to your grandma too, but you're out of time." "Okay," Amal said. She kept her eyes on the floor as she walked back up the aisle, and when she reached the steps, she stopped and turned around. Hey, maybe she left it in the big storage compartment under the bus. "Do you think you could unlock it for—" "Get out of here," the driver snarled at her. The instant Amal's foot hit the parking lot blacktop, the door whooshed closed again. "No luck, huh?" Raining said. Amal shook her head. "He's mean." "Maybe he's involved," Wilson said, as he started walking back toward the museum. "Maybe he didn't want you poking around too much because he was afraid you'd find something." Amal shook her head. "I doubt it. I think sometimes people are just big meanies," she said. "What time is it?" Wilson checked his watch. He was the only one of them who wore one. "Almost 5. Oh, Oh, no, Amal said. The air and space closes at 5 and we haven't questioned Mr. Mordecai yet. We'd better hurry, Raining said. We can cut across the big lawn. He nodded in the direction of the big expanse of grass that sat between the 4 major capital city museums. The museums sometimes used it for special outdoor events. It was also a great place for kite flying, frisbee throwing, or just lying in the sunshine. We'll never make it in time, Amal said as they hurried around the side of the American History Museum. But it's Saturday. I have a plan. Does everyone have some money?